Everyone, welcome to episode 6 of season 4 from the Zoom garden plot. Happily, it's raining as we speak, so we're all inside from our gardening and celebrating the rain and discussing our gardening. And today, the agenda is much like in previous ones. We will have introductions if there's anyone who's new here. Then Chad and Dorothy have sent pictures. We have some announcements. We have a brief show and tell. And finally, we've got like 3 questions to answer at the end. So I'm going to stop sharing for the moment. Is there anyone new here who would like to say hello or introduce themselves?
No.
Okay, then
Well, welcome everybody.
welcome everybody. Then I'm going to go back to sharing, and we are looking at the Grow Local Greenwood Lake Common Ground Community Garden, and Chad will be talking about this. Chad?
Hello, everyone. I think I took about 10 pictures of my finger right in the middle of it today, right? I think.
I I got 2 batches of pictures. I think you got 3 slides.
Right, but I think when I look back, it reminds me of my mom, who's not with us. Like she was famous for having her finger or thumb in front of the camera, like all the
You
time.
you won't be famous for that because I didn't include those in
Oh,
tonight's
I know.
show.
I saw that at the end. So yeah, we're definitely doing a lot of harvesting this year. Is a bit challenging. I'm just getting everything going, and then we had that late frost, and just a lot of stuff going on. But we have a lot of radishes. You can see we pulled some beautiful radishes. We're tons of radishes, tons of strawberries, really a beautiful amount of strawberries. And again, our Common Ground Community Garden this year, we're doing a different model. We have no membership. We're open to all. So we're really trying to promote that idea and explain it to well to people. We're about to put a sign on the front that also explains this. We had a Greenwood Lake Street Fair on Saturday, so hopefully we got a lot of people interested, and we just said after the street fair, go and pick some strawberries. So we're really trying to have an open mind. We do have open hours on Wednesday and Saturdays, Wednesday evening, Saturday mornings, and we're encouraging people to come then. But once we give them a little training run through, we're hoping they'll come. I'm going to steal Sarah's model of like I think she does green, yellow, and red sticks, like to kind of say green means pick all you want, yellow is like be a little careful, and red is like stop. So I'm going to start doing that. And again, Sarah will hopefully comes Wednesday and plant sweet potatoes in the bed, which last year was a lot of fun and came out really well. Maybe she'll talk a little bit about that later. We can do the next slides.
Actually, Chad, I
Yes.
noticed that a couple of your radishes here are split, and some of our radishes were split too. Does anybody want to comment on radishes that don't stay around but they split like that?
I
I'm
don't know why
guessing
this.
this is a guess, but when tomatoes split and a lot of things when they split, I think it's probably because we've had such um the water has been so uneven. And
Yeah.
that's purely a guess. But
Yeah, I find that with erratic watering with the tomatoes. So, but we have Chad, have you been watering it?
Yeah. Well, again, with the one rain per
Yeah.
40 days, I'm sure it's not as regular. Right. And again, I'm busy, so then you have to water it. It takes a little time, but
mhm.
I was somewhat consistent, but probably not as
Yeah.
much as I'd like to be.
Yeah, I get it. I'm the same. I'm same boat. It's drought or I can't keep up with it.
Yeah, and the strawberries were just prolific. We have like hundreds of strawberries. And this year we're really trying to put a lot more pollinators all around the garden, and we're trying to label all of them. And as you see, they're blooming beautifully. Uh, I definitely have noticed not as many bees and other stuff as I normally see, which is a bit concerning because it should be like a feast festival of pollinators, but I've not seen even in my yard or the community garden. I don't know if anyone else is noticing the same thing, but I
I've
definitely,
noticed the same thing.
yeah, it's concerning, but we're gonna stay positive. And
Chad,
then
what's
yeah,
the plant on the left, the purple? What is that called?
oh, Dorothy probably knows better. That's
Is that comfrey?
Hmm?
I do
No.
have No, that's not
That's
comfrey,
not
but
comfrey. Looks
Is it a
like
penstemon?
Testament.
yes, yes. There
What
you
is
go.
that? Say again?
Yes, penstemon, yeah,
Penstemon.
beard,
Oh,
dragon's beard,
Dragon
Yeah.
beard. Yep.
yeah.
Okay, thank you.
And again, Bill Green of Sustainable Warwick gave us a lot of his soil, which seems to be freakishly, amazingly fantastic. It's, the Sonia Mason who plants a lot of this stuff has planted stuff for years, and she's like, I cannot believe, because these are perennials. She goes, they just grew like very fast. And we're hoping, at the end of the year to separate, share a lot, because we have a lot of bee bombs growing like crazy. So, we're hoping people come and then we could, separate and give away. In the middle is Turkish Rocket. I think that is. Oh, no, sorry. In the middle is strawberries. Sorry about that. Strawberries. That's a whole bed of strawberries and chives.
Hmm.
And I put I guess the sun is shining. It almost makes it look like a yellow thing.
Yeah, it looks like yellow flower.
Yeah, it's not. Again, we had so many strawberries. So that's strawberries and chives.
Chad,
Yes.
what do you have blooming right now? Because I find I've got a gap right in my flowers that are blooming. So I see the lemons.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what that yellow one is, to be honest, but that is blooming.
That's a
It seems like a lot of
coreopsis.
the stuff is starting to bloom. The bee balm, the penstemons, we actually had some Turkish rocket. They flowered. I think I have a picture of that. I'll show you soon. Gillian, you think of anything else? I'm trying to think what else flowered. Right, the chives have flowered.
Right. Okay. Yeah, I got you.
I'm so annoyed. I love bok choy, and
Seriously
we-
bad at flower names.
I know we had a beautiful whole bed of bok choy that was, and then they bolted every one of them instantly. I was
Really?
very aggravated. Yes, I didn't get one. I know they grew beautifully, and I was like, all from seed, and they literally all bolted. So that was frustrating.
Yeah.
We have comfrey that's blooming now, and we've
Yes,
got
comfreys. Yes, our comfrey's blooming. Yeah.
honeysuckle is blooming now, and oh gosh, what is that one?
dianthus is blooming too. It's coming.
What
coming
is?
toward dianthus.
Okay.
I have some primrose in my yard that's
Yes,
beautiful right now.
evening primrose. Yes,
Right.
Right. It's kind of
Rose?
in between the spring flowers and summer flowers right now.
And again, the weather's so strange.
Yeah, well, that.
And roses are blooming too.
Right. Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, they're peaking right now.
And then to the right over here, I wish Leslie Holder was at this on the season, because we are going to grow our own. We're creating our own Gillian, who's our master carpenter. We're going to create a keyhole garden bed as well. Where that wood is laid out, that's kind of where she's angling it. And a keyhole bed is, it's going to be raised up, and in the middle we drop down, like it's almost like a compost pile that goes right down the middle of it. And I mean, yeah, Leslie was here last year, always showing us the people who were not here last year. We had a woman who was had one at home and found it very successful. So we're going to try to do a little more demonstration beds this year. Then I have more strawberries on the left, and that's fennel growing beautifully that's left over coming back from last year. Then I'm just, you see the hoop house in the background in the middle, and then you see along the sides, we have like false indigo, again, bee balm. I think we put in borage, and I'm going blank. There's another like permaculture type plant that I'm blanking on. But again, on this whole long strip, and then we put asparagus all the way around. So that obviously would take a few years. So we're really trying to do a lot of perennials around the sides of the garden. And over here we have lemon balm that we put in last year. That's obviously growing quite. We have like 4 or 5 of these giant bouquets of them. So I'm gonna really try to encourage people to take some lemon balm. I don't know.
Chad, sorry.
Yeah.
How do you plant asparagus real quick?
you don't do it real quick.
Yes. Well, Bill, do you have I mean, I've done it, but you might be a little more of a specialist. Do you want
Well, I planted mine 25 years ago, so my memory isn't that good. But basically, I remember putting lots of fertilizer like manure and other things, digging it deep and planting roots that were, I think, 3-year-old roots at the time.
Oh, they were older. Okay.
Yeah, and then, watering, mulching, and keeping the asparagus beetles out. And my asparagus bed is just about done now. It looks like it's going to have to get replaced. I have a lot of little seeds coming up, and the asparagus are very skinny right now. But that's how I would plant it. It's worthwhile putting a big effort into making the soil really good, because it's going to be there for a long time, and you really can't transplant them. Those roots go out really far.
Did you do it in the spring or fall? Did you transplant?
I don't remember, but it was probably the spring, but I think you could probably do it in the fall too.
Yeah, so basically this year I dug a nice, and they're a good companion plant with strawberries, and strawberries are so shallow that the asparagus goes down so deep. So I dug a pretty fairly big hole around it, and then I wish I had a picture of like the individual. They're almost like little tendrils coming out, and I made little mounds of soil, and I kind of wrapped the tendrils around the soil, cover them up, 5-6 inches of again, good soil, like Bill says. You want to try to keep it as weed free as possible, but it's, I have a lot of weeds in this garden. It's challenging. And yeah, and it's going to take, it grows up like a beautiful fern type of plant. And I wouldn't, let it grow. And then I guess you might harvest it the 3rd or 4th year. And it'll come up again, year after year. Michael likes to cut them down. Sometimes I leave them up, but there's different schools of thoughts about like cutting them down at the end of the season. But as
I
Bill
leave
says,
them up
you
as
want to be
long as
aware
they're
of the asparagus beetles and everything.
right. The asparagus beetles are a concern, but as long as they're green, they're putting more energy into the roots, which is what's going to come up the following year and years. So I tend to leave it up as long as it's green, and then sometimes it's a strategy to clean them away so that to help like asparagus beetle eggs and stuff move away from your plot. But
yeah, that's how I do it too.
Yeah, it's definitely a question of plan it well, get your plot together, don't just do it quickly. It's not a quick fix. And because you wait 3 years before you start harvesting it. But once it's going, then it's the first thing up in the spring.
Yeah. So, and I my backyard finally had them ready, and you don't have to cook them or anything. You just pick them and just eat. They're so soft and delicious.
So are
And
you, do you buy plants somewhere, or you said tendrils? Is it just root systems you're buying, or what?
Yeah, for Midsummer Farms, well, I guess Bill said you could buy older ones. Yeah, but they're like, yes, they like little roots, and they have like little, almost like an alien, like the creature that like kind of wraps onto your face in the original Alien movie.
Do they call them crowns? They call them asparagus crowns. That's what they're called.
Okay.
The major garden shops will have them.
Yeah, I like my technical terms.
Thank you.
Tendrils.
Yeah, and they have different roots in terms of how old they are. So you can get, I think, 2-year-old and 3-year-old, and I would go for the 3-year-old because they're more established, and you'll get quicker results if you do a bigger root.
Oh, so I didn't even know that. That's a good idea. Good strategy.
Christy, I'm trying to get rid of some asparagus. If you need it, I could do it in the fall because but if you need it, I can give you all my asparagus. Everyone wants it, but then nobody kind of gives me, prepares a bed for it. So, and it's just sitting in the corner of my raised bed near my irises, and it's taking up room, and it's kind of making my garden. Well, I don't want it. So basically, if you need the roots, I will donate them to you in the fall. I can dig them up and get them to you in the fall.
Thank you. I guess that was my last. And then I did have a milkweed, that's growing up around the sides of the garden again. But any questions or?
Oh, yeah, that was what I was going to ask you. That was a milkweed on the right?
Yeah, that last one was a milkweed. Okay, now.
Okay. Yeah, we do kind of need to move along. Dorothy sent a lot of pictures. Dorothy, I'm counting on you
Okay.
to get through these pretty quick, okay?
Okay. So this is a view looking southwest in my garden. And there's the 3 columnar apple trees. Someone had asked about them the last time I had shown them earlier. You can see them leafed out now, and I have a bunch of little apples. I have a ton of other things in there, so as we go through my slides, I'll show you some of what I got. So top left is the last of my columbine flowers, Agalasia canadensis, and they're putting up little seed cases now. They're not ripe yet, not ready to pick, but pretty soon they'll actually pop open and turn brown when they're ready. And then I'll just sprinkle them around, and where they grow, they grow. The top right is sea kale, Crambe maritima, which I put in the fall. I'm not going to pick from it this year, and it's an interesting permaculture plant. You can eat the leaves like kale, or it also puts up like a seed stalk, a flower stalk, which is like a sprouting broccoli, which is also supposed to be edible. I've never tried it, so next year, hopefully, it'll be interesting. Bottom right is my elderberry flowers are almost ready to open. And bottom left is strawberries. And that's a cage that my husband built because we were losing at least half of the harvest with all the critters. And it's a 12 by 3 foot raised bed, and I have 25 plants in it, and we got 18 quarts out of that. So it's a little less than a quart a plant. Yeah. So 25 plants, 18 quarts. It's been productive, and that's Cavendish is that variety. And top left, you can see the cages a little bit better, and they do a really good job. Although every now and then we'll have a chipmunk actually bury underneath it, come up in the middle of them. Not too often, but it does happen. The other view on the top right is the garden looking northwest, and that's the main path through the garden. To the bottom left is my mulberry. It's a dwarf mulberry. I've got 2 dwarf mulberries, and they're turning red now, and maybe another week or 2 they'll be black and they'll be ready to pick. They're small. They're I don't know, 1/2 inch to 3/4 of an inch. They're not a big mulberry, but
Tasty.
they're quite tasty. Oh, they're delicious. They're worth it. And bottom right, these beds are 5 or 6 years old. And they were just little tiny plants when I put them in. So on the left is my red currants, and on the right is the Hinamaki red gooseberries. And actually I have 2 flowering plants. There's one of the Laetris varieties. I've got 3 different types of Laetris, and then a Echinacea paradoxa, Bush's coneflower. So I was going to look up how much I got last year, and I forgot to do it, so I can't give you those numbers, but they're pretty prolific. I get a lot. So the top left is my blueberries, and they went in the fall 2 years ago. And I mean, they were just little sticks when I planted them. So they got some flowers this year. Actually, they got a lot of flowers, but not a lot of berries. So I sort of think I didn't see many pollinators out when they were flowering. So I think that's part of the problem. Okay, on the top right, I have some Asclepias tuberosa. butterfly weed, and then anise hyssop. To the right of that, in the bed behind it, you can probably see there's Swiss chard. And then over to the left along the fence is how I grow my cucumbers, right up the fence. And then you can't see the rest of the beds there, but it gives you just an idea of some of the size. Bottom left is Golden Alexander, some Zizia aurea, which I put in this year. And it's a great pollinator plant for the bees and the butterflies. Bees with short tongues. And actually, if you can enlarge it, there's a lady beetle larva that's starting to turn into a lady beetle.
Let's see. I
If
can't.
there's-
I don't have a good way to enlarge it. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Maybe I'll do that on the break and try to show it. You know,
Okay.
when we're afterwards.
And there's another view of
I heard your
the
mulberries were
mulberry.
so delicious. I thought I should repeat the picture. That's why it's in its second time.
Okay. Yeah, they're very good. Oh, okay. So there's my husband in the upper left, and that's with two of the elderberry plants. And those things are maybe 5 or 6 years old. And that's wildwood is the variety of those, and they're very prolific now. And I'm over to the right with some strawberries, and you can see the cage comes off in 3 sections. We just like pick it up and take it off and move it over to the side and then harvest. Bottom left is my Hinnomaki red gooseberries. They're not ripe yet, but I have some that are starting to blush. So they'll become like not as dark as the mulberries, but they're a dark red. And then on the bottom right is the currants, which are become a bright red. The currants are too sour to eat by themselves. I use them in jellies. The gooseberries can be eaten by themselves or made into a jelly. So.
Oh, before we do that, before we go to the shimmy in place, Dorothy, there's somebody sitting over your shoulder. You want to make sure this person gets introduced. Does he want to step up and say hello?
Okay. That's come on over.
Carl.
It's Carl.
Hello.
Nice to meet you, Carl.
How do you do?
You know, teamwork makes the dream work. You folks have a great garden out there, and
Thank you.
it's
Thank
wonderful.
you.
I know it's really gorgeous and so orderly looking and neat, and it's pretty funny that you have like, I guess, a lawn in between. Like everyone's always upset, but you know, you have a nice like grass in between. But it looks one. And you had a little tour the other yes, on Saturday, right?
Yeah, a little tour to our local garden club.
Yeah, I definitely have to make it over there one day. It looks just
it'd be great.
gorgeous. Looks gorgeous.
I like it
Thank you.
especially that you have numbers on your boxes like they're an address. You can
I
send
know, you're
mail
so
to.
organized. I feel like so disorganized looking at you.
Well, I'll interject for a second. That the numbers tie into Dorothy's record keeping and her diary of everything, and it helps her in some things are perennials and they don't move, but it helps her when she rotates crops. In the wintertime, she's planning by bed number what's going to go where.
Wow.
And she's very organized. She's
Mm.
organized and she has it mapped out what goes where. When was the last time that beans
Oh my
grew
God,
in-
no.
Yeah.
That's
Not me.
terrific.
That's really,
That's awesome.
So
She's a
impressive.
scientist. She's not just a gardener, she's a scientist.
Before we jump on that break, I sort of a little bit preview there. We are going to have a shimmy in place before long, but Bill wanted to share some pictures, and so Bill, you want to tell us about these pics? Did I put the right 3 up?
I'm just I'm just going to give a sentence or two about each. On the left, the far left, is a whole row of different brassicas. There's broccoli, cabbage, cauliflower, et cetera, et cetera. It's very, very good this year. I think the cool weather really made it grow well. And I have the light very super light fabric on it to keep the cabbage moths out, and they are essentially untouched in terms of insects, and they're starting to head up. So I'm starting to get, little broccolis and cabbages heading and so forth.
Nice.
So it's a good year. Usually we don't necessarily have a good year for brassicas. In the middle is what happened during that frost 2 weeks ago or so. I had everything in the garden covered, and I should have taken a picture of it. I had fabric over it and protecting everything and so forth. But I said, oh, my peas don't need to be protected. After all, they're frost hardy. Well, this is a picture of the peas that were not frost hardy. And they were strike peas, and they were doing wonderfully. And they turned, after 2 days after the frost, they turned white. The plants just all turned white. But then they started to grow again. And so you see the green growth on top. They're very damaged, but they then produced pods. So we've been eating peas for the past 3 or 4 days. Totally unexpected. We just thought we'd be, leave them in, water them, see what happens. And they were strong enough to actually produce pods. So that was good. And meanwhile, so the point I'm making about this is that once the peas start to blossom or produce pods, they are sensitive to frost. If you didn't know that, keep that in the back of your mind, because that may happen again, where we get a late frost and the peas have started to blossom. And on the right are the peas, sugar snap and snow peas that actually had the frost. They weren't covered either, but they weren't blossoming at the time. And they just, no problem, they just took off and they're producing like crazy right now. That the height there is 6 feet. So you can see they're doing pretty well. And that's all I wanted to say, just to remind you about the peas, which I had known, but I had forgotten.
Bill, that frost, I had damage to my mints in that frost, and usually mints are pretty tough.
Yeah.
But they actually, it's actually brown the tips. I mean, they came back great, but I was shocked when I saw that. And also alyssum, I planted alyssum, and that's usually another tough plant, and it had all the tips on the plants were white. So it was bad frost.
Well,
Bill,
folks,
I'm sorry.
we've reached the point. No, go ahead, Nicole.
I'm sorry.
And then we've reached the point.
Thank you. Bill, how dense did you plant those peas together? Because I spread my peas apart, and I guess from each individual seed, I feel like I'm only getting one pea coming up. So, but yours looks so lush and rich and thick.
Think about the middle of a 3-foot bed. Go to both sides of that middle, and I plant 2 peas every 2 inches. So 2 peas, they're horizontally across. They're not going this way across. They're going this way, and so 2 on one side, 2 on the other side, 2 inches over, 2 and 2, 2 inches, 2 and 2, and so that's what I do.
So on that 3-foot stretch, how many would you approximate are in there?
Oh God, I have to do math.
Yeah.
How many in a 3-foot stretch? How about a 1-foot stretch?
Sure.
Every 2 inches, there's 4. So, so there's 6 times 4, 24 peas in a foot.
All right. Because they look beautiful. I mean, mine are about the same height at this point, but they're so far apart. It's like, I'm not getting.
Yeah, my peas were not good. They came out very. How about you, Sarah? The peas were good?
It was a little dry, but
Yeah, not good.
They've perked up. But Nicole, I plant anything on a trellis and what I call a zigzag. I place them along one side of the trellis, and then I place another set in between on the opposite side of the trellis. That way they have room for roots, but I get a nice thick growth. I do that with cucumbers, anything I'm doing on a trellis.
When you do that, and so I use the drip irrigation tape, and I'm always on the outside. Does that mean you run a line on both sides, or is it enough to kind of place it in the center?
There's a drip line in the center, and then there's one on the outside.
Okay.
And it, seems to work.
Folks, really, I want to keep us moving along. So the question is, at this point, do we want to take our usual shimmy and place break, or do we want to sing that great song, Let There Be Peas on Earth? What's the choice among the crowd today?
That's a groaner.
Okay, I guess we're going to do shimmy in place. We'll be back soon, folks. And we're hoping people who watch the video will actually stand up and do their shimmy in place too. It's hard on the body to sit for an hour, so please stand up and move a little bit. We'll all be back in a minute.
Start singing about peas on Earth.
How you doing, Christy?
I'm doing all right, Bill. Nice to see you again.
Yeah, same here.
Yeah.
Bill, can you go over that peas again? How you do that every 2 inches?
Yeah, 2 inches lengthwise across, across the length of the bed, and 2 inches horizontally, 2 peas horizontally, 2 on one side, 2 on the other side, 2 on one side, 2 on the other side. And I keep them about 2 inches apart too. So there's no crowding. All the peas are like 2 inches apart.
Thank you. Yeah, your peas look so beautiful. Mine looks so straggly and kind of pathetic on my
Well,
trellises right now.
Last year ours looked like that. We just didn't have good germination, and the hot weather just they don't like hot weather.
Mm-mm.
And this year the weather's been nice and cool, and we put them in early. We put them in like March 20th or something like that. So, and that's why we felt so badly about the peas that got damaged. They were doing great this year, but they just didn't take the frost.
Mm. Poor peas, never saw it coming.
And I could have put something over them if I had thought about it enough, but I didn't think about it enough.
You're usually so hardy, you don't even think about it.
Yeah, we never had that situation before where the peas were, blossoming and there was a frost. So
Yeah, I just can't believe how damaging it was. It was really a lot worse than I thought. I never seen a frost that damaging. I mean, to hit mint and damage mint, it had to be cold.
Yep.
So I was just shocked. I was like,
So folks, now that we're done singing Let There Be Peas on Earth, let's go back to Dorothy's picture where I've expanded the picture, but also did this little close-up. I don't know how the resolution is on your screens, but do you want to explain what's going on here, Dorothy?
Okay, so I've got a lady beetle larva that has started to turn into a lady beetle down in the bottom. And I just thought it was very interesting. I don't know, probably everybody knows what they look like, but I try to catch the bugs too. And then there's an ant above it, which is no big deal. But
unless it gets too close to her,
yeah.
then he's in trouble.
So we have a few announcements, and there's one, gosh, I have not discussed this one with the other steering members of the Zoom garden plot, but so Sustainable Warwick, mostly we meet via Zoom also, but we're going to be meeting in the town park. And specifically on the third Wednesday of July, that's July 19th, we have a meeting at the town park at 10 o'clock, at 7 o'clock, but we've reserved the pavilion there from before that. So I'm wondering if all of the Zoom garden plot people would like to get together for a dinner or picnic that night at 6 o'clock. And now I'm seeing, hold on, Chad and the Grow Local Greenwood Lake, they actually have their garden ready right at that time. So maybe we could meet there instead on another Wednesday, or maybe we could meet here. But what do people think about that?
One question, I was under the impression that the meeting was going to take place in Memorial Park, not the town park.
Nope, it's a town park.
You're sure?
Yeah, we had discussed it at the meeting where to do it, Memorial Park, and we found we already had the insurance at the town, and we also thought we'd get all 3 of the summer months, but we didn't. But anyway, you know how we're kind of short-staffed, so we didn't put extra effort into getting Memorial Park.
Yeah, okay.
I think it sounds like a great idea. I'd love to get together with everybody.
So we'll discuss that among the board members, and no, we're not bored. I shouldn't have said that. Those of us who try to steer the cats in this group, maybe meet at town park, or maybe we'll try to find a time where we can all show up at Chad's garden, and maybe Chad can pick a week that would be especially helpful for all of us to show up at once. And yeah.
Well, it's funny. Well, yeah, no, I mean, what night? No, on the 20. Oh no, I'm doing that. To forget it. I'm doing right. We have our meetings. Yeah, I have my work day, and it's going to be also a crop swap. But you guys are certainly welcome to come down and join us. We'd love to have you.
Okay. Oops, I'm sorry. Jumped ahead. There's a book, Sustainable Warwick Book Club. Even if you hadn't read the book, you're welcome to show up and discuss this book with us. Fen, Bogs, and Swamp by Annie Prue. Is that how her name is pronounced? It seems kind of interest to gardeners. If anyone's interested, just let me know and I'll get you the link. It's at 3 o'clock tomorrow. And the village of Warwick is helping Sustainable Warwick and the farmers market. Everybody's working together to collect compost. If you'd like to hang out at the farmers market on a Sunday after Sunday, they have 2 shifts, early and late, between 9 and 1. Christy, do you want to say more?
Yeah, we have a growing list of people who want to volunteer, but there's always holes, because we need 4 people per Sunday. So if you have a mind to do that, it's a lot of fun. Another thing I wanted to say is that Orange County is having a compost bin and rain barrel sale again this year. Thank you. And I also put it in the chat, and thank you. I didn't realize you had that. So if you want to get it, you need to order by the 22nd. You go to that website, and it is $60. Normally it's $100. And then you order, and then you can pick up June 30th in Middletown. There's also rain barrels, and as you can see there.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm going to have to leave early. I'm getting pressure from Mary to have the computer. So she has a poetry contest that she needs to get it in now.
Good luck.
Good luck, Mary.
Bye, Bill. Good luck, Mary.
Bye-bye.
Bye, Bill. Anyway, so that's it. So yeah, we and just if anybody's interested, we have a new webpage on Sustainable Warwick for composting. It's sustainablewarwick.org/compost, and it's got some great information about composting, and you might find it of interest.
Chad, here we have Grow Local Green Lake. We're doing 2 little workshops. We're doing a film screening on Wednesday the 21st, which is World Localization Day. Not many people know that, but I always deal with this. Helen Norberg Hodge is one of my heroes, and they have a Local Futures. There's a group that they're all the way across the world, but we somehow communicate. And I'm going to show Planet Local. It's like an hour long, very good movie, just to show the importance of local food and have a little discussion afterwards. And then on Saturday the 24th, Christopher Harrison will help set up our shed with a rainwater harvesting system. And he's going to really, he's going to have brochures. He's a great teacher. And that'll be something if anyone wants to really, especially now with water being an issue, I think the more you could harvest rainwater, the better it is. So you're all welcome to, they're all free events and you're welcome to join us. Thank you.
But I do point out the June 21st event, if you go to that, it's cross-scheduled with the Sustainable Warwick monthly
I know,
meeting.
I'm
So
saying,
you're
yeah,
gonna
so
you're gonna
don't-
miss out. Just
Well, Sustainable Warwick could come and watch the movie. Come
Oops.
down to the senior center and watch the movie with us. That's a sustainable thing. Local food.
We got dueling sustainability going on here.
Yeah.
so the question that we sent out in the email was, did we had those few days of smoke from Canada. Did anybody notice particular impacts on their gardening? Carmen, I see you've got your hand up. Go ahead, Carmen. But you're on mute.
More on the physical health, my husband. Not on the garden. On the garden, I just went out and made sure I watered it and kind of like watered it all over, not just the bottom, and make sure that pretty much like gave them a wash. And beyond them more.
I a little bit wondered if when it rained, if there'd be like if the minerals in the stuff in the air would like improve the soil.
Yeah, I thought that.
I think it purified the air, of course, with the rain. It definitely did clear it up.
But I was thinking maybe it would inhibit insect damage because maybe there's enough particulates or chemicals that it would get in. It would cause the insects to slow down or even maybe kill them outright. Or inhibit them. I was wondering if there was like a benefit to that out of the smoke.
I wonder if anybody could research that question for our next Zoom garden plot and get back to us on
I
it.
can look it up because I'm curious about that. I mean, I wonder if it was beneficial in a way that it knocked out the insect population on some bad insects, or if it knocked it down a little bit. It's only temporary though. I mean, but and then I was wondering if it also has any issues with bees, like honeybees, that could in the same way.
I ran across an article from the University of Missouri on the smoke, and it was above my brain power. But they were basically talking about fires coming into Minnesota from Canada, and they were pointing out that I'll find the link and send you the link because I can't explain it, but something about the way the smoke atmosphere is, it can be beneficial in some ways because of the shade, and the particles aren't that detrimental to plants the way they are to humans. And they also pointed out that on the West Coast, people are growing vineyards and crops constantly with wildfires going on. And the only thing they had to do sometimes was knock the ash off. So
yeah,
I'll send you the link.
I mean, that's going to add potassium to the soil from the ash if you actually have ash falling on you.
Right.
So
They weren't talking about anything to do with the soil, but more the respiratory aspect of the smoke between plants and humans. It was interesting. So
yeah, I wonder if if the plants know enough to close their stomates so that they, when they get to a certain level of
it was beyond my scientific understanding, but basically they told me don't worry. That's all I wanted to know.
Oh, for us, I don't think that was that big. I mean, we had worse air in the 60s, in the 70s. So it was like going back to a smog alert in New York City in the 60s. On
a related note, before we get back to the sweet potato question, I heard somebody talking about, climate change and ticks. And what I'd always heard up to now was that, because it's warming, that's sort of a positive thing for the tick population. But what this person was saying was, well, but there's also a lot of dryness and drought, which sets the tick population back. So I don't know if people, notice that maybe it's been extra dry this year, maybe the tick population will be down some. If you keep your eyes open for that, and keep your eyes open for ticks anyway. Now, okay, Do we have any hints for planting sweet potatoes? Before we started the video, Sarah and Chad were talking about that. Do people have sweet potatoes hints?
Sarah, please. Sarah has all the hints.
Do you want to go into sweet potatoes here, or when I go down to Greenwood Lake, do you want to make, Chad can film a little visual on planting sweet potatoes?
I guess my only question is someone else there have a camera?
I know. I know, I'm really bad. Oh yeah, I'll try to get.
We'll get some
I'll
great
get someone else to
shots.
videos.
Yeah,
That's-
great shots of
Your
Chad's
pictures were
thumb.
good. Chad, I thought your pictures were good today. I thought they were pretty good.
No, because they eliminated about 5 of them that had my thumb like,
Oh, okay.
covering the whole. Oh yeah, that's true. I had a really big. I'm gonna. Oh, that's gonna be interesting too. Like I have very tall poles that I'm gonna put. I'm growing the tomatoes up.
Right. Like many things,
These long, very long poles.
the whole
but
thing
my
with
thumb's
sweet
covering
potatoes
half the
is
picture.
preparing the bed. That's the real trick. It's hard to, a visual's better than trying to explain it.
All right, so next time
Next
we'll have some
time,
video pictures.
we'll have sweet potatoes 101.
I have a
Is
question.
it similar to potatoes in any way, to growing regular potatoes? Like
No.
the preparation?
It's
No, totally
similar,
different.
it's similar but different. You build I call it an Indian plateau. I'll do a demo rather than try to
Okay,
explain this verbally.
Gotcha.
Unless you're
Gotcha.
planning on planting sweet potatoes, because you're being
No, I'm not. I planted potatoes this year, and
Right.
I was just wondering if it was a lot different or if it was similar.
it's
But it sounds like
it's
it's a lot
different.
Yeah.
Nicole, you had a question?
I have a question. I want to know, okay, so maybe 2 weeks ago, I did some of my direct sowing in the garden, and I am barely seeing anything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I don't know if it's I don't my apologies if you've covered this because I came in like 10 minutes late, but I don't know if it's because we just kind of got over that 50-degree night. I didn't even think about that. I didn't think about the fact that our temperatures at night could probably hinder me, but I
How
can't
about
believe
watering?
I'm not seeing anything.
Are you watering? Because I'm having a hard time with my direct seeds too, because
Yeah.
I've been so busy with different things. I haven't been able to get out there as often as I normally do. But when you direct seed, you got to be out there like 3-4 times a week.
I got my drip irrigation on every morning for half an hour.
Really?
My drip tape's
I'm having a hard time with the direct seeds this year. It's very sporadic. They're not, and I put a ton of seed down. And again, I figure half for the birds, half for me, but I put so much seed down and it just, I have a better barrage and I can't get a certain area of it to grow no matter what. And I just put like 3 times, I put tons of seed, put it in the soil, put it on top, did all sorts of tricks. I'm having the same issues and I don't know what it is.
But I'm also seeing, I'm glad to hear that I'm not the only person on that, but I'm also seeing all of my transplants that I put in that I started from indoors, my tomatoes and my peppers, nobody's growing real fast right now.
Oh,
Short and stumpy on everything.
I'm glad that you brought that up because you're the tomato person. I bought my tomatoes from Burpee. I'm never buying them again. The plants were weak to start with. I nursed them back to health. I put them in the ground and it looks like they're just going backwards almost. It's like really, I bought some Bonnie plant replacements, but it's the worst time. I've never seen them this bad where they're just like doing nothing. Like they're just,
my
okay.
I lost we have 16-foot beds. So sometime in between the heat wave and a cold wave, we direct seeded an entire bed of summer, spring greens. Then I also put in 2 beds that I grew in the house and transplanted because it was so cold early on. They are doing pretty much great, except for a few that washed out during a rain. And oddly, my bok choy did not bolt, but my broccoli raw bolted completely. But anyway, these direct seeds I had them covered for too much rain, like nothing came up. And I think it's the crazy weather and the lack of rain. But my tomatoes, we got them in right before there was going to be some rain. And I have a whole ritual on planting tomatoes. And I have to say the tomatoes are looking good. So
when did you put them in, Sarah?
I put them in a few weeks ago, mid-May. And I
Mid-
have another tray I'm gonna put in now that it rained. I'll put in another, I put in what, I don't know, 40 plants maybe, and I'll put in some more. I have a whole collection on
Yeah,
them.
my tomato, it's funny, I planted all these tomatoes in the hoop house, everything's great, transferring. But then all my beds have like a million volunteer tomatoes from last year. It's like,
Oh,
and
yeah.
I hate, it's making me crazy because I hate to kill anything. So I'm like, I'm
I
like, I
I
don't want to
moved
take
them
them out.
around. Just move them.
Yeah.
I know.
wish
I have like 1,000.
No.
Like we had the street fair. We literally gave away like 60
Give them away.
tomatoes. That I don't know what they were. I said I don't know what they are because they're volunteers, but
Surprise.
I wanted to save the
They all end up
surprise
being
like
tomato.
cherry tomatoes after a while. But
Yeah,
Nicole,
that's
I
only
didn't
like
mean to
3
say-
volunteers that fell.
Yeah.
Nicole, I didn't mean to say I'm glad that you're having a bad time. I'm
No,
just
no.
kind of
I know, Mark. I know.
like, oh, I felt bad. I'm saying I'm glad you're having, but
No.
I wish your tomatoes are better. But I guess I'm glad I'm not the only person in this boat. But that sounds bad too. I mean,
No, it
No.
seems like my whole garden is struggling right now. I mean, there's
yeah.
life
Folks,
going,
this is
but
this is why we have the Zoom garden plot. It's a hyperlocal gardening discussion.
Mhm.
So for two excellent tomato growers that say, I'm having a lot of trouble with my tomatoes this year, it leaves the rest of us off the hook.
Yes.
Sam, how's your garden coming along?
It's coming along. One of my tomatoes is doing well. It's just started flowering. I have a couple sets there. I have a yellow currant. I think it was Sarah that mentioned it before. She had that. So I picked one of those from the previous meeting where we could go get the donations. And I got the Cherokee purple, but that one ended up getting curly top virus. It was, yeah, like one day it was growing fine, and then a couple days later I come back and it's curling all weird. New growth was like, it just stopped, and but it looks like it was about to flower, but it all bunched up, so I had to get rid of it.
Did it get cold, Sam? There was a little cold spell. Did it get too cold?
I mean, it might have been around. Actually, no, it was fine after
Okay.
I got that cold spell. It happened just before or just around the time of the fires.
Okay.
And funny enough, I found a leaf hopper hopping around today. So when I looked
Those are
online, they said that
those are vectors. They're
Yeah.
vectors for viruses. That's yep.
yeah. So now I have to keep
fire.
watch and make sure that this other one, is all good. I got some lettuces there that's growing that after they popped out. I mean, now they're growing fast. Carrots too. 100% germination. So I have 16 in a square foot spot.
Good. Good.
I was being cautious. I probably buried like 4 or 5 per hole, and I think almost all of them popped. So I had to thin out a bunch of them. So I felt bad, but I was just like, you know what, that's all right.
that's the worst. We love growing things, so to like kill things by thinning them out, it's like
I know. That's I'm dying. I'm dying with all
Yeah.
these tomatoes and calendula. I'm like, no.
I have a lemon basil there that I just pruned the other day, and now it's like starting to bush out really nice.
Great.
I had a ginger and turmeric there as well that I think during that cold spell kind of did some damage, but the new growth looks nice and green, so I guess the warm weather is doing it good now. But so far so good, besides the Cherokee purple I had to pull.
And it's actually really a smart and wise to pull it.
Yeah.
To know when it's time to cut your losses and move on.
I was like, should I just prune this part? I was like, no, let me just take it out.
Yeah.
If a virus, you can't do anything with a virus. You got to pull it and even take some of the soil out and just. But there's nothing you can do.
So unlike planting asparagus, this is a quick question. What kind of weed is this?
That looks
Any-
like ragweed to me.
Does
Looks
anyone?
Looks like ragweed to me.
Yeah, that looks like ragweed.
Oh, okay. Somehow I have a lot of it this year. Does anybody else noticing extra this year?
Yes, I have that.
Huh, how about that? So all of these outstanding gardeners, and me too. Did you notice that? So again, hyperlocal gardening, it's important. And then let's see, just one last thing before we go tonight. I need to just prepare my screen for this. Okay, so Chad, here's one of the fingerprinted pictures.
I'm sorry, Chad.
So, yeah, there's about 10 of those.
Let's see. I thought I was be able to.
Yeah, those are like a million calendula and tomato volunteers. That I'm telling you, I have like hundreds
Wow.
of them.
You really got a lot of them.
Yes, I'm like, and it's breaking my heart. I have to get rid of some of them.
And let's see. Here's one with a lot of
That's a good
finger.
one. Yeah.
That looks good to me.
Oh, there you go. See,
Yeah.
look at there's my poles though. You can see we're gonna do but my tomatoes are growing well over there. But it's my mom is definitely looking down on me because she was like, that was like a family joke that half the pictures we took as a family, her finger was in front of them. So I'm continuing the tradition.
Nice.
Let's see. And maybe here's another one with a lot of yeah.
It's a good looking thumb.
There you go. Oh, that's my pawpaw, Sarah, my little baby one.
Oh,
But yeah, we got a ways to go, but it is growing
yeah, a little ways to go on
slowly.
that.
Yeah, ways to go.
Good.
And there's my finger, very nice.
Mhm.
So before we close out for the night, does anybody have any closing remarks?
So everybody's having a little bit of a tough start this year. I'm not on an island by myself.
But
It's
also,
a
Nicole,
tough- it's a
you have
tough,
to remember,
tough
we're all
year.
crazy.
It's
Yeah.
tough.
We always do this and we go insanely nuts, like Mark, and you put 3,000, and then like a month from now, we're going to be like, holy crap, there's like a million. Like, and then you look back, you're like, oh, I didn't think I had anything. Then you realize you have a million things. But
I
I'm
know.
the same way. You're just like, oh my God, nothing's growing. That's it. The garden's going to be empty this year. I'm give up. And I mean, except for Dorothy's bountiful harvest. Like
I saw
sometimes
Dorothy. I was like, what is she growing? At first, I'm like, it's so lush.
A lot
I
of
know
perennials.
Dorothy's like a freaking.
Every year, Nicole, I'm like, oh my God, nothing's growing.
Yeah, actually, we're not going to show Dorothy's anymore. It's
No,
making
Dorothy,
everyone
you're
else feel
out.
bad.
Depressing.
It's perennials.
It's beautiful,
Well,
Dorothy. That's what it is.
Very good.
I do have a request. If you are going to be sending pictures of your garden, please send them. Please send them. Like if you want 3 on a slide, figure. Oh, I want these 3 on one slide, and send that in one email. And then the next email, the second 3 or 4, 2, 3, 4 per email, whatever you want on one slide. Then otherwise, I'm sort of arranging your stuff, and I don't really know how you want it. So that would be a good way to organize this going forward.
Good idea.
Thanks.
Thank you guys so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you. We love you. Hang in there, Nicole.
Thank you, Nicole.
Thank you. Thank
Have
you.
faith. It'll grow.
Dirt Magazine asked me to participate in the garden, the kitchen tour again. And I was like, looking at the garden, like, I don't think I can participate.
That's okay. Don't worry. It'll come. It'll come. I mean, you can always you can cheat and buy some stuff eventually.
Actually, Nicole, if nothing grows, then that's a time to show your garden. Say, I'm a good gardener. It was a challenging year. People shouldn't feel bad. People would really appreciate that because a lot of us look up to gardeners like you. So.
I don't know why.
Yeah.
Thank you. Is it because I'm taller than you
Mike,
are?
we should show our failures as well as our successes. That's a good point.
Yeah.
I got plenty.
Everyone has failures. That's the way we learn. So
That's right.
Thank you all.
Way to go, folks. Teamwork makes the dream work. Let's do it.
And come if you're available, Sarah. Hopefully, if it's not raining, come down to the Greenwood Lake and we'll see how to put sweet potatoes in.
Okay.
Email us if you want to get included in that. We'll make sure you have final timing on when that's going to happen.
Okay.
Okay.
Will do.
Thank you, everybody. See you next time.
All right.
Okay.
Good
Bye-bye.
night.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Take care.